Please help me welcome Rhoni Coleman.
Good afternoon, Albuquerque. First of all, I didn't know that the anti-violence group was going to be here. And just because you see, thank you. Just because you see me standing here, there's a history behind all of us. My history isn't just the fact that I'm a black woman. My history is that I had a 40-year marriage to a man who lost 3/4 of his family in Dachau. My history is my grandmother, my great-grandmother on my mother's side, and my great-great-grandmother on my father's side were both slaves. So I've come a long way, and we still have a lot further to go. I would like to speak today about two tangential concepts of why we're gathered here today. As we assemble to protest and bring recognition to the plight of women today, we must remember that we are practicing our constitutional right, a constitution that was originally written for white men, not women, not people of color. And in 2019, it is a right that did not exist 150 years ago. It's progress. It's slow, but it's progress. May I suggest that we do not rush into the future. Yes, it's taken time, but we cannot rush into the future. May I suggest pausing and turning around and backing into the future, thereby remembering the past, recognizing the struggles of those who came before us. And our struggles are continuous, and they will still go on long after we are gone. We must know the correct, truthful past, and most importantly, on whose shoulders we stand. We stand on the shoulders of Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood. She recognized women's pain of frequent childbirth, miscarriage, and abortion. She sought to liberate women from unwanted pregnancies with the practice of birth control. Margaret Sanger, we stand on your shoulders. We stand on the shoulders of Shirley Chisholm, who was the first black congresswoman, and her partners, Bella Abzug, Betty Friedan, who founded the National Women's Political Caucus. In the 1960s, women weren't taken seriously. We could be teachers or secretaries or nurses. I don't know. I'm a psychiatric nurse, so be good. These women were in the federal government. And if you think that women have it difficult now, you should have been there in the 60s and further back than that. These women were up against men who did not take them seriously and who thought that a woman's place was in the home and to make babies. We could not possibly have had any constructive thing to say, though we made all these beautiful people you see. But we have a lot of important things to say and do. And these women began the concept of being taken seriously as they fought for our rights that we have today. We stand on the shoulders of Shirley Chisholm and Mrs. Absud and Betty Friedan. I stand on the shoulders of Beatrice Walker, who means absolutely nothing to you all, but I know her because she was my grandmother, my mother's mother. I have wonderful, loving memories of her, but the one that stands out most in my mind took place on October 1967, when at the age of 61, she took me and my 3 sisters with her for the first time that she could vote. The right for people of color had been fought for years. My grandmother, even though she had just a 3rd grade education, could still read. But on that day, she asked my sister Valerie to read the ballot to her while I filled in the blanks that she answered. On that day, my grandmother, as I said, who could read, could not see through her She could not see through her tears. She never believed that this day would ever come for her. She couldn't see the ballot through her tears. I was 15 years old, and though Randy was crying tears of joy, she was also, I'm sorry, I'm remembering that moment. Oh, excuse me. Her tears were also acknowledging the knowledge and the painful experiences she had in her life. On that day, I realized the power of the vote. She never missed an opportunity to vote until her death in 1983. Randy, I stand on your shoulders. I stand on the shoulders of Matthew Shepard and Harvey Milk. I can hear some of you saying, but Rhoni, they were men. Yes, I know they were men. Beautiful, gay men who met their horrific deaths far too soon. Let me change that a little bit. Who were murdered far too soon. Considering that half, or approximately half, of the LGBTQA community are women, Mr. Milk, and I don't want to say Mr. Shepard because he was just a young man, he was 23. I stand on your shoulders. These men, through their death, and Mr. Milk, through his life and what he was trying to do, gave face and honor and recognition and humanity to a group of people who were ignored, bullied, and ostracized. Mr. Milk, Mr. Shepard, again, I stand on your shoulders. If I tell you a little secret, would you all promise to keep it a secret? I have an enormous crush on President Barack Hussein Obama. But my true love lies in the relationship with Michelle Robinson Obama. She was not an elected person. She didn't choose. She chose the husband. She did not choose his profession. And yet, she was a person who could speak to kings and queens. She could speak to children and to disadvantaged people and to those who did not share her values. She gave hope to the hopeless and vision to those who did not have a dream. She represented us with an educated mind, with grace, with intelligence, and respect for all, not just at home, but to those around the world. Michelle Obama, I'm 2 days late, as I always am, but happy birthday, and I stand on your shoulders. I stand on the shoulders of Michelle Lujan Grisham, who not only loves and cares for people, but knows the hardship of being a single mom who raised two remarkable women to know their powers and how to use them. I stand on the shoulders of Deb Haaland, Congresswoman. I stand on the shoulders of Xochitl Torres Small and every woman in our local and federal government who have just taken their rightful place and the reins of our government. I stand on the shoulders of ladies, but I also on these ladies, but I want them to know we have their back. In most cultures, societies, and religion, there are laws that are written and unwritten that a child must honor his mother or his or her mother and father. But if you squint and read between the lines, it is also written that parents must give their child something to honor. We must realize that we are not just raising children, we are molding future adults. What you are telling your child, will that help him to form good, healthy ideations for the world that we will pass on to them? For my mother, Katie, and my dad, I know we're honoring women, but I'm going to put my dad in there, Katie and Bill. And for all the women who have children, and for all the people who have no children, but are examples for our children, just by their very presence. And for all the men who must be both mother and father to their children and to our children, I stand on your shoulders. I stand on the shoulders for the love that you've given us, for the respect that you've shown all children, for the lessons and hardships that our parents have suffered so that we could be here, and so that our children won't have to suffer those hardships. And for giving them hope for the future. I would like everybody, whether you are madly in love with your parents or estranged from your parents, I want you to all on the count of 3 yell their names out and say, I stand on your shoulders. 1, 2, 3. Katie and Bill, I stand on your shoulders. Very good. And lastly, I pray that all that have come before me, that I am worthy. Thank you.